The French neurobiologist Sonia Garel has been awarded the 12th Remedios Caro Almela Prize for her outstanding contributions to developmental neurobiology. She is visiting the Institute for Neuroscience, a joint center of the University Miguel Hernández of Elche and the Spanish National Research Council, to deliver the Remedios Caro Almela Lecture, where she has presented her scientific achievements, and to attend the award ceremony. We took the opportunity to talk with her about her work at the Institute of Biology of the École Normale Supérieure in Paris. Welcome, Professor Garel, and congratulations for receiving this award. Let me start by asking, how did you feel when you heard the news, and what does this recognition mean to you?
So thank you very much for having me. It's an amazing pleasure and honor to receive this prize. When I got the news, I was completely astonished, a bit overwhelmed for many reasons, because for me it's incredible. I've seen this institute basically come out of the ground. I have very tight relationship with this place, and I've had different collaborators, but also many friends over the years. And the list of the people who received the prize is absolutely amazing. So I never thought I'd be part of that list. It's very humbling and inspiring. And finally, also, I was very touched because it's a prize that was made in honor of a spouse and a mother. And for me, it has a very specific and emotional meaning, and I'm very, very grateful to the family and honored to receive this prize.
Your research has helped us to better understand how it's built, the brain is built during development. And traditionally, this process was seen as a linear program, but your research suggests something much more dynamic, like a cellular choreography. So what are the dancers in that choreography?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. So really the idea that you need to have all these different cells come together and assemble to make these functional circuits is something that, of course, is not new. We are always walking, or building on the shoulders of giants. But I think that we got very interested in trying to look at all the cells interacting at the same time and at the same place. And this was a bit new at the time when we started this work. And I was very fortunate to, as I was saying, to start this lab also with started the work in collaboration with Oscar Marin here and Guillermina Lopez Bendito, and we started to look at the interaction between migrating cells and axons forming tracks. And this had not been looked in terms of interactions, and this is something that we explored. But it opened different avenues, which is to look at all the different cells, neurons, but also cells that are not neurons. And this is also something that we developed over the years.
Wow. One of your key contributions has been the study of corridor cells. Could you explain what these cells are and what are their role in the role they play in brain development?
Yeah, so this is the work I was mentioning, these corridor cells. What we found is that the specific subsets of neurons can migrate at a specific time point and open a path for incoming very important axons, connections, that will convey sensory and motor information to an important structure of the brain, which is the cortex. And so this sort of crosstalk or dialogue is something that we discovered and was something very exciting at the time, because it opened the possibility that two important features, cells moving to make circuits, but also these long tracks that enable to connect distinct regions, needed to be coordinated in time and space to ensure proper brain functioning.
And your work showed that also microglia are not just the guardians of the brain, but also active participants in development. So what do they exactly do in shaping the neural circuits?
Yes, so as I was mentioning, when we think about the brains and the developing brain, we think about neurons.
Yeah.
That are, the recipients,
part.
exactly, and they're conveying information and making circuits work. But there's other cells in the brain that are not neurons, that are collectively called glia, non-neurons. But a specific set of these glial cells, microglia, are actually immune cells. They're cells of the immune system, and they're there to protect the brain against pathogens, inflammation, injury, and so on. However, there's more and more work showing that these cells are very important for the functioning of circuits, and that their dysfunction is linked to the etiology of almost all brain disorders, from neurodevelopment to neurodegeneration. And quite oddly, there was not so much work about what microglia do very early. And it was intriguing because these cells enter the brain as the first neurons are generated.
Wow.
So they could play an early role, and this is what we explored. And we found that these cells are very important for many aspects, from maintaining the tissue integrity during normal development, assembling specific circuits at specific stages, and are basically building or regulating the construction of some aspects of the brain during development.
Wow. And also your research suggests that can protect your neurons, maintaining the brain integrity under stress, as you mentioned, but that they can be influenced by other factors, which I found very interesting, like the gut microbiota, even with a sex-specific way. So can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, this is something that I don't have answers for you about many things. No, but this is something that is also fascinating. Is these cells, they are in the brain, but they're immune cells, and so they sense a lot of signals coming from the body, inflammation, infections, but also signals about the environment, and they're sensitive. They can sense the composition of the gut microbiota that through different systemic signals can reach out the brain. So in a way, they are also open to influence, you can say influence or sometimes perturbations coming from the environment and also bodily signals. And it's something that we're very interested in, because it seems like it could influence them during development. And moreover, as you were saying, they respond differently to these signals depending on the sexual identity of the individual. So we are actively digging into this. What are the mechanisms? It's quite complicated, but it's very interesting, because we know that a lot of brain disorders have a strong sexual dimorphism, with neurodevelopmental disorders such as autism spectrum disorders having a higher prevalence in males, but some other diseases having a higher prevalence in women, such as multiple sclerosis or also Alzheimer's disease. So we think it's very important to understand how sexual dimorphism can influence the capacity and the activity of these cells.
And looking ahead, what are the next big challenges in understanding neurodevelopmental disorders? I know it's quite generic, but it's a path you are moving.
Yes. So I think that it's a fantastic time to work on brain development, because there are so many novel tools and also novel frameworks that we can tackle to understand the etiology of these disorders. and this could open or pave the way to really design novel strategies. For instance, looking at what different types of cells do, not only neurons, but glia and microglia, for instance, immune cells, and trying to integrate what we know about genetic predisposition and environmental factors, and how could these two potentially synergize to trigger or contribute to disease. And I think that this is really a sort of a novel era in which we should really push, and at least we are trying to push in that direction. Yes.
And finally, what advice will you give to young researchers who are starting their career in neuroscience?
It's always tough. Maybe one would be do not listen to advice, but I think that, yes, I think that science is amazing. For me, it's a real passion for now many years. I think that contributing to science and trying to build knowledge is something that is amazing. I feel extremely privileged to be able to do this work and contribute that way. And I really think that any young people who has this passion, I would say from wherever they come from, whomever they are, all genders, all diversity, and should really feel like they should have a place to contribute. And I think that this is also what is going to make science richer and richer.
Thank you very much for your time, Professor
Thank
Garel.
you very much for having me. Muchas gracias a ti.